Did you know that Max Verstappen could have won at Spa, but Red Bull accidentally sabotaged it? What seemed like a simple strategic decision ended up costing him the podium. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Red Bull is losing its technical edge this year? What really went wrong at the 2025 Belgian GP? In this video, we're going to break down everything that happened to Max Verstappen at the 2025 Belgian GP, from the issues with his car to the controversial strategy that left him off the podium. Max Verstappen arrived at the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix expecting to dominate once again. It wasn't an unfounded illusion. He was coming off a solid season of strong performances, and he also had a Spa-specific upgrade package that promised to improve the RB21's performance. The Red Bull team made a strong bet on this circuit, knowing that the high-speed layout and technical corners could be an opportunity to consolidate their position in the championship. Verstappen, as usual, didn't disappoint in the early stages of the weekend. In the sprint, he was clearly superior. He showed that, when the car performs, his talent still makes the difference. However, everything changed on qualifying day. What began as a weekend of competitive pace quickly turned into a series of unforeseen difficulties. During Q3, Red Bull made the decision to change the car's rear wing. It was a technical adjustment that, far from improving the balance, ended up harming the car's stability. Added to this was an unusual mistake by Verstappen at turn 1, a small lockup that cost him a few crucial tenths of a second. Between the lack of grip, poor traction at the start of his fast lap, and a setup that clearly wasn't ideal, the result was a disappointing 4th place on the starting grid. This initial sign set off alarm bells within the team. It wasn't just a bad day. The RB21's behavior under real-world qualifying conditions revealed deeper problems. Verstappen was visibly frustrated, both by the car's performance and by technical decisions that didn't seem to align with what he needed to compete at the highest level. What had seemed like a weekend on track for victory was beginning to unravel even before the main race. Sunday began with an atmosphere of tense anticipation for Red Bull. Although Max Verstappen started from 4th place, everyone knew that at Spa, with its long first sector and overtaking zones like the Kemmel Straight, a good strategy and a competitive car could change everything. The team still had room to fight for a podium finish or even the win. But what seemed like a chance for redemption ended up becoming one of the most discussed decisions of the entire season. The key lay in the choice of rear wing. Red Bull decided to install a wing designed for wet conditions. Their logic was clear. Intermittent drizzle was forecast, and they wanted to ensure grip in a possible wet track scenario. But this is where the real problem begins. That rain simply didn't arrive, or at least, not enough to justify that type of setup. Instead of benefiting from more traction, Verstappen found himself with a car penalized on the straight, unable to defend or attack with top speed. The Kemmel Straight, one of the circuit's most decisive sections, was a constant punishment for the RB21. While rivals reached optimal speeds thanks to more balanced setups, Max was left exposed. Even with effective DRS, the car didn't generate enough acceleration to match McLaren or Ferrari in clean conditions. The difference in speed was so clear that, at times, the Dutchman seemed to be fighting a car from another category. But the most frustrating thing wasn't just the poor performance. It was the fact that Verstappen knew it. From the first laps, he made it clear over the radio that the chosen wing was not the right one. His message was direct and unfiltered. He knew that this strategic decision, possibly made with excessive caution, had taken away any real chance of fighting for the win. And for a driver like him, who lives every detail intensely, that feeling of helplessness was evident in his driving. In addition to the wing issue, the car continued to suffer from the same problems seen in qualifying. Lack of traction exiting slow corners, imbalance in high-speed sequences, and a tendency to oversteer that prevented him from pushing with confidence at key moments. All of this combined to condemn him to a race in which he could only defend what he had, not make any progress. The final result was a 4th place that, on paper, might have seemed decent. But for a team like Red Bull and a driver like Verstappen, it was a tactical defeat, not due to a lack of talent or effort, but due to a misreading of the conditions. And in Formula One, when racing on such small margins, one wrong decision from the pit wall can mean all the difference between a podium finish or a stumbling block. Beyond what happened with the race strategy, there's one thing that can't be ignored. The RB21 showed both its strengths and structural weaknesses at Spa. The car has speed, that's clear. But it also suffers from issues that compromise its competitiveness on weekends, where every detail matters. And Spa, with its highly aerodynamically demanding layout, was the perfect setting for all these characteristics to be exposed. Let's start with the positives. Red Bull brought a very aggressive aerodynamic approach to the Belgian Grand Prix, focused on maximizing top speed. The implementation of the so-called skinny rear wing allowed them to be highly competitive on the main straight, especially during the sprint. This reduced wing gave them an advantage over McLaren in terms of acceleration and straight-line efficiency, one of the keys to overtaking at a circuit like Spa, where sheer speed can make a significant difference. Furthermore, the RB21's DRS performed excellently under ideal conditions. When the car was in clean air or could closely follow a rival, opening the system generated a very effective speed gain. This DRS efficiency is not only the result of intelligent design, but also of Red Bull's ability to optimize small downforce zones for each sector of the track. At times, it seemed that the combination of aerodynamics and the drag reduction system could give Max the competitive advantage back. But those advantages only mattered during very specific periods of the race. Because when you look closely at the RB21's data at Spa, you also see a number of disadvantages that severely limited the car's performance. The most notable was its overall aerodynamic inefficiency. Although the car was fast on the straight, it achieved this by sacrificing downforce in corners. And on a circuit like Spa, where the balance between fast and technical sectors is crucial, this represents too great a disadvantage to ignore. The car struggled to maintain stability in fast corners, especially in compression zones like Eau Rouge and Blanchiment. This lack of support generated oversteer moments that forced Verstappen to constantly correct, compromising his traction at the exit and wearing the rear tires more quickly. This not only reduces race pace but also makes the car less predictable, something any elite driver needs to avoid at all costs. Another major weakness was the car's overall balance issue. According to internal reports, the updates implemented at Spa did not fully resolve the instability that has plagued the RB21 since the start of the season. Laurent Mekies, a key member of the team, was clear in stating that the car remains difficult to handle even after half a year of development. This statement is not only worrying, it is a direct warning that the current chassis concept may have structural limitations that are difficult to correct with simple tweaks. And finally, one of the most critical points, the loss of grip at key moments. During qualifying, Verstappen reported poor traction at the start of his flying lap. In the race, this lack of grip translated into excessive spin on corner exits and difficulties maintaining tire temperature. These are symptoms of a car that is not yet fully in sync with the demands of a track like Spa, which severely punishes any technical imperfection or aerodynamic imbalance. All of these factors, both strengths and weaknesses, explain why Red Bull couldn't capitalize on its performance over the weekend. The car has potential, yes, but it needs extensive adjustments. And the question now is whether those improvements can arrive in time for the next major event on the calendar. After the difficult weekend at Spa, all eyes inside and outside Red Bull are on one question: what comes next? The result in Belgium was a clear sign that the team can't rely solely on Verstappen's talent to stay competitive. A real technical response is needed, not just emergency adjustments. And that pressure is already setting the pace at the factory. Helmut Marko, a key figure in the project, confirmed that new updates are being prepared for Budapest. But will they be enough? What has been leaked so far indicates that these upcoming modifications will focus on two critical areas. On the one hand, aerodynamic efficiency, which has been one of the RB21's major weaknesses throughout the season. On the other, mechanical stability, which became especially evident during qualifying and the race at Spa. It's not just about adding more downforce or changing the wing. Red Bull needs to rebalance the car without compromising its top speed, something it hasn't fully achieved so far. Furthermore, a rumor is beginning to gain traction in specialized forums and has begun circulating in the paddock. The team is considering a more aggressive redesign of the side pods and floor. However, there is no official confirmation or specific date for this development, which increases the uncertainty. The challenge for the team will be to balance the short-term pressure with smart technical decisions that truly address the root problems. Budapest will be a critical test. It's a much more technical track, with tight corners and a constant demand for grip. What happened to Max Verstappen at the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix wasn't simply a bad result. It was a warning. A weekend that started strongly, but ended by exposing the technical and strategic cracks within Red Bull. Despite dominance in the sprint and the driver's efforts, the combination of errors in qualifying, questionable decisions in the race, and structural deficiencies of the RB21 ended up sealing a result below expectations. The key point isn't just fourth place. What's truly worrying is that the car no longer conveys that sense of superiority that characterized it in previous seasons. The balance is broken. Solutions aren't coming at the pace they should. And while other teams are making steady progress, Red Bull seems stuck in a zone of constant correction that never quite solves the real problems. Verstappen feels it on the track, communicates it to the team, and makes it clear publicly. It's clear that the question we raised at the beginning of the video has been answered. Yes, there were mistakes. Yes, there were bad decisions. And yes, Red Bull's immediate future depends on how it approaches the upcoming Grand Prix. Spa was the turning point. From now on, everything will be decided by the team's ability to react. It's not just about scoring points. It's about regaining confidence, consistency, and championship vision. Any other approach would be insufficient. Let me know your views in the comments. Do you think Red Bull will be able to correct course, or will Verstappen end up taking a new path? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.